Good evening. You're live. We're going to talk about this little product here. This article. I don't know how well this live feed's coming out. I don't know how good my signal is, and I don't know how many people I will get in here. But we will try nonetheless. And, oh no, we got some people coming in here. Jeff's in here. Quick Williams is in here. It's like the perfect temperature. So the APU's not running, truck's not running. Both trucks are idling. People in here, and then we're gonna read this article. I posted this article on Facebook on both my Snorelord page and my regular page, or my personal page. Which, by the way, if you send me something on Messenger, if I don't respond, don't take it personally. That's how a lot of these phishing things get spread. So, anyways, we got about 17 people in here, so I'll read this article, okay? Transportation Nation, okay? And the headline reads, another trucker comes under a gunfire attack while on the interstate. Another trucker was recently attacked with gunfire while reportedly operating through Kansas City. That's why this one particularly, piqued my interest. Transportation Nation Network, TNN, has been investigating yet another recent incident in which a big rig was shot up by a motorist. A social media report about the shooting first surfaced late last month, and it's got pictures. They're .45 caliber rounds. That's the sleeper window. It's a Kenworth 680 T680. You can tell. That's the sleeper, and then of course that's the hood. Not sure which. That's also that's the edge of the sleeper, like literally right behind the doors. Photos were posted by Leyland Miller to his Facebook page on June 30th reveal 4 .45 caliber bullet holes in a semi-truck. Miller indicated the driver of the truck is his friend, and the incident occurred on the morning of June 30th along I-35, I-70 on the Carbon Road exit in Kansas City. Still, many questions remain unanswered. TNN has been able to confirm that the incident did occur. Further, TNN has confirmed the big rig was in service for Iowa-based tanker hauler Doomytunestransport. We have reached out to multiple representatives of Doomytunestransport to learn more about the shooting, but so far no one's been willing to speak on the record about it other than to confirm the trucker was thankfully uninjured. However, TNN can also confirm that FMCSA has looked into the circumstances surrounding the shooting. According to recent agency communication, the incident was deemed by FMCSA to be a random, they're using quotes, so I gotta do that, random and isolated shooting. Additionally, TNN has learned that neither the driver nor the in-cab camera detected the license plate information of the passenger vehicle involved. So let's go to the comments. And so what are your guys' thoughts on the fact that we're all getting, not all, but this is not a new problem. This is not like it's never happened before. I will tell you a story here in a second as soon as I get my video up here. Let's see here. Let's do some shout outs. And we got Mike Miller. Well, hold on. Wow, you guys have. We got Jeff, Quick Williams, GNC Family Truckin', Scott Lecker, sorry, Nittany Lion, Big Houston, Light Bright, Don Schonger, TJ Jones, Grafton, Brian Ludwig. Jeff doesn't count on first, says Quick Williams. That's true. Jason Perry, Pale Rider TV, John Armstrong, Cascade Transport. Good day. Just a truckering something. What's up? Cameron, where did that happen? It happened in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, what's interesting, let me look at my notebook here. I was in Kansas City not too long ago. Load from Springfield to Westchester, Ohio. I was in Kansas City on the 8th of July. And when I was going downtown, I had to go downtown because it's a construction zone. And I was kind of nervous because, the interstate turns in the US 71. And what's more vulnerable than a truck sitting at a stoplight at midnight right there in the Kansas City? But there was actually a couple of cops down there. There was a state patrol that was kind of like trying to get speeders because it's like it's where it's 45 zone. It's like you got red light cameras right there. So got a spot for you, says Jeff. Juan Avalos, what's up? Pale Rider TV wants to work from home. I was there 2 days ago, says GNC. Yeah, I was. Now, guys, St. Louis has had some issues too, but I've been through St. Louis. I even spent the night inside St. Louis. I did a live feed. Remember, they were sending off fireworks. I wasn't sure if it was fireworks or shots or whatever. But John, it's a reality that we've faced before, I think. My father-in-law has a story where his steer tires were shot out. This was back in the late 70s. Of course, he was Teamster, so Teamsters and other groups were always kind of at war with each other back in the day. And if you go back to if you do some investigating, research, you can find out that like in the late 70s, there was a lot of internal strife with the truckers. People like, oh, the golden days when truckers were united and da da da. You know what? Truckers were never united. They were always against each other. My dad was an owner-operator in the late 80s, and I used to ride with him, and I rode in the truck with him from the early 80s to the early 90s. And it seemed like there was more of a camaraderie because of the CB radio. That was your only means of communication. But the reality is there were a-holes then, and there are a-holes now. There's just more of us now. And whenever there was some kind of big protest or some kind of big strike, truckers were literally beating each other up, shooting at each other over like union disputes and that. There was a company, you guys are probably, if you've delivered food in Springfield, Missouri, more likely you've delivered at Associated Wholesale Grocers. And they are a union company. And there was a time about 20 years ago. I know, yeah, it was 20 years ago because it was right before my wife and I got married. And AWG decided, you know what, we're going to do away with our own drivers and bring in outside carriers to do the work that their company drivers used to do. So the union did a strike, and literally it became violent. In fact, at one point they were able to flip a truck over at the entrance of the facility. That happened. And then the other thing that happened was they followed one of these independents to the TA there in Stratford to actually beat him up. And then there's the infamous incident where back in the late 70s where someone shot a dynamite truck hauling dynamite and blew it, like created a whole crater there over there by Joplin, the Osho area, I believe. So there's there's been many times where we've been targets of violence. You know, there's some bad neighborhoods in Kansas City and in New Orleans where a lot of the local gangster folk would shoot at the trucks, but they would shoot high. They just wanted to scare the drivers. They didn't want to kill the drivers, and so they shoot up in the sleepers or whatever. And I remember when I was training, I was a trainee going through New Orleans, and I was worried about that because I'm the one in the top bunk. Because the way Transland they didn't team you when you were driving, so you slept at the same time. You know, we didn't do that whole, you know, I'll drive and you sleep and that kind of thing. And so it worried me because I'm the one up high. And sure enough, at 3 in the morning, we were delivering in New Orleans, 3 in the morning. Someone knocked on that door, and I could hear my trainer yelling, "No, we don't want anything. Leave or I'll protect myself." And you know, the guy eventually went away. And then when the next morning, we slept at the dock. The next morning, all the other drivers that showed up, like, "Can't believe you guys spent the night here." And I'm like, you know, but you know, so there's always been a little bit of a danger for us, but this time what makes it different is that it's hitting the headlines a lot more. And so I think a lot of it is being magnified a little bit. But there is a little bit of anarchy going on. I agree with that. John says, "Good thing I just bought a Taurus G3. Awesome. Very good." Trucker Josh says, "I'm rolling through KC tomorrow. Spectre is listening." I appreciated your video last night, Spectre. That was a great video. And like I said in Coach's video, I want to talk to you more about that non-resident Illinois and New York, if possible, without stepping into their state and becoming a felon. So John says, "I dropped and hooked in St. Louis, Missouri for Schneider a few times, but I was never there overnight." John, the Edwardsville yard, I stay there all the time, never any issues. It's one of the smaller OCs. And so if you make it to Schneider, the Edwardsville is not too bad. So GBAT's postponed until 2021. We can talk about that too. So GBAT's is the Guilty by Association Truck Show, and it's held in Joplin biannually now. So it was coming up this year, and today. So either today or yesterday was it Pale Rider, and so no GBAT's today. So the last truck show of the year that's actually outside. It's actually outside. Is a no-go. So and that sucks because there's a lot of really nice trucks that show up. You know, last year me, Harold, Roscoe were all part of the convoy. It was pretty cool, and I was gonna probably put my own truck in it this year. So, but oh well. But you know, there's steps that you can take to protect yourself. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine today about this, and because about it was like longer than that, about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a shooting. There was somebody shooting at trucks in Kansas City, and the safety person asked me, "What do you do if someone's shooting at you?" So let's say you're driving, right, and you look down and dude's like pointing a gun at you, right? Guess what I'm doing? Wham! You're now going against an 80,000-pound vehicle, right? And that's where the title comes from, Mad Max World. It's like, I'll put you in that wall to save my life. And so I was talking to my wife about this earlier, too, and it was kind of interesting because the FMCSA is looking at a deal where if you feel like you're being threatened, or if you come up on a protest/riot situation and you don't feel safe, we're not going to hold hours against you, hours of service against you. And I'm like, I don't care what the hours of service says. I don't care if this thing turns red and beeps at me the whole time. I am not staying in a situation where I feel unsafe. So it was kind of interesting to me that the FMCSA would even say that, like, or do they even need to say that? I mean, is there someone like getting their truck broken into, and there's like 15 people climbed over the truck, you know, and he's like, well, I'd move if it wasn't for that nasty hours of service. Darn it, you know. No, I'm grabbing gears, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to have to use the other tool to protect myself unless I absolutely have to. Troy says, crazy how that works. They canceled an outdoor event when they were saying the virus was basically a non-issue with 80 plus weather. Yeah, it's. I will. You know, a lot of people were commenting on Coach's video earlier, and there's two types of people. There are people that believe it's real, and there are people that like think that that's a complete hoax. The truth is somewhere in the middle, right? There are people that are really sick. There are people that really have died. And the reason why the mask thing is such an issue, because when this all first started, the CDC was telling you, oh, the masks aren't effective, don't even bother, right? By the way, we need them for the healthcare workers. So don't even, if you got some, your construction groups, you know, go ahead, donate them, because we need them, right? Now that the companies that make masks have all caught up, now it's like suddenly, okay, now we need to wear them, right? It's because, number one, I'm not going to judge you for whatever decision you decide to make. I'm not going to be that guy. And I talked to a friend of mine just the other day who made a lot of apneas t-shirts. If you were a local band or a local company, he probably made a shirt for you at one point or another. In fact, Shadow Wolf's t-shirts were actually made by this guy, screen printed by this guy. And he told me that they haven't been doing shirts, but they've been doing thousands upon thousands of masks. You know, the company he works for, they can either do one-offs or they can do like a mass printing. A lot of trucking companies are coming out. A lot of companies with their own brand are coming out with the brand. A lot of bands are making masks now. You know, so it's you know, so you can buy cool looking masks, you know. And the thing about this is, you take a page from Asian countries like Japan. Japan, masks have been kind of in their culture for a while. I mean, you know, it looks cool, so that they'll dress it up. They'll do something, you know. And then a friend of mine made the comment about China. China uses a lot, you know, a lot of people use masks on a regular daily basis, but their EPA standards are also a lot lower. So a lot of it's because of environment. You know, don't want to breathe in the dust or the smoke or smog or whatever. Let's see. My uncle has COVID right now. I believe it's real, John. Yep. I agree. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Sure, people are sick, but there's also other things going on too, I believe. Troy, right. I think there's some opportunists. Just like the looters are using the peaceful protest as a springboard for their agenda, I think the virus is kind of the same way. The second closure and craziness, I think, is political. No politicians decide for themselves to wear a mask. Sergeant Ringo, that's the conundrum we're in. You know, it's you know, the Michigan the Michigan governor is literally holding your business in hostage. This is how they're going to do it, guys, okay? When businesses were being shut down and people were losing their livelihoods, the argument way out, or if I do curbside, and also if we all wear masks. Why, if masks are so effective, why can't we do that and keep our businesses open? So they're trying that. But what they're going to start doing is they're going to start going, you know what, if you want your business to remain open, you better have a mask policy in place and you better enforce it. Because, you know, Coach had talked about today that he had to actually put on the mask going to the TA or whatever he was at, truck stop he was at. And And while I have yet to encounter that, I've seen the signs. You know, the Loves there in not St. Louis inner city, but the other one, St. Charles area. That they said you need a mask to go in, but I didn't need to. The Walmart in Illinois, they said masks are required to go in, but yet 80% of people weren't wearing them. But today, I think it was Big Rich. He mentioned on Facebook that he was told that in order to purchase the things that he said on the counter, they would not sell them unless he wore a mask. And that gets kind of weird, because it's like you're already in there. You've already done whatever damage you might do, or they might think you've done. And you can go, hey, next time, you know, but you know, and then the change shortage thing, that's kind of weird too. I've already been in some stores that were like exact change only, or you got to use a card. So there's some, I will agree, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm also not 100% trusting of what's on the surface, right? There's definitely a story going on, and we've talked about this before. Just take a look at the big picture and just kind of pay attention to things, pay attention to trends. And the next thing that's going to be the next big controversial thing is schools. How are they going to handle schools? What do you know? I'm already seeing kid-sized masks being the wife and I saw some at Walmart the other day. You know, they're cutesy, and you know, got all the cartoon characters and everything. Very easy to get your kid to wear a mask. The question is, do you send your kids to school? Because I've driven a school bus, and my immune system is pretty strong because of all the coughs and colds and flus that I faced on a daily basis. In fact, as a school bus driver, you were required to wear, or not to wear, to have the flu vaccine. Same thing with when I worked in healthcare. I worked for a nursing home for a little bit, and we were also forced to, you know, it's either a job or a vaccine. So I took the vaccine. So, GNC's talking about zip tying the airlines. You know, that's good information, but the problem I have with spreading it on social media is that if we tell everybody our tricks, they're going to find a way to fight them. So don't tell everybody our secrets, you know, that kind of thing. Truckers World, hello from Bossier City, Louisiana, sorry. Comfort Suites. Some people believe the chain shortage is part of the NWO. Oak Grove Petro was handing them out at a door if you did not bring one in with you. There you go. So I wholeheartedly agree. Like the rate con of the load I'm picking up tomorrow says rate. I had to do a delivery at a Walmart DC in Spring Valley, Illinois, and of course they do the, you know, the temperature thing on your forehead or whatever. And they said, sir, in order to go into the traffic office, you must wear a mask. Do we need to supply you one? And at first I said no. But then, like, you know what? Yeah, go ahead, give me that free mask. And I told the lady, I said, you know, this small box right here, they're charging $40 at the truck stop for these things. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like the best deal you can get is like $1 a piece, right? Like $6 for 3 of them or something like that. And so I was happy to take their free one. You want me to wear a mask in your facility, just like there are facilities that make you wear hair nets, that make you wear beard nets, they make you put on safety glasses. They supply that stuff for you, right? When you go in, mask should be the same way. If you want me to wear a mask, you supply it, because you don't know where my nasty cloth mask has been. You don't know how good I am about washing it. There's a customer I've been delivering to on a regular basis where these guys are wearing these big white, I mean, they're like this big, you know, and they look like they were made out of underwear. They're white, you know, they're made out of tighty whities, and they're disgusting looking. Do not buy white masks if you're going to use them over and over. Just saying. And so, if you have a person checking your temperature as you go in and giving you a mask to wear, hey, I'm all for that. But most people are wearing like chin straps anyways. They're like, hey, we kind of made fun of that a little bit with Red Chicken. So, a study in the Netherlands, I think, found that not one kid had the virus passed it to their parents. Yeah, I mean, well, Sergeant Ringo, the problem is that and I'm going to bring something up here real quick. Spectre says late work night, doing paperwork while in the shop, great times. Spectre is in the shop at the hotel dealing with probably a 5-digit number repair, right? I've been there, done that, and everything you said last night in last night's video is absolutely correct. Just because you got 15 or 20 or even 25 in the bank doesn't mean you're safe, right? And it doesn't mean that, because while I agree with Spectre's statement that he doesn't look at potential revenue by downtime, he doesn't look at that loss. I think that's another way, like, well, I'm down for 4 days, I was averaging 1,000 days, so that cost me $4,000 plus repairs, You can have that approach, and it makes it sound in your head worse than it actually is, because you don't know if you would have worked those 4 days, right? However, the thing that you do have to factor in is, can you pay your house bills off that savings? Because you got nothing coming in, right? So if you have a $5,000 repair and you got $10,000 saved up, but it takes a month to make that repair because you're waiting on parts or whatever, then you're looking at, you're going to be able to pay your home bills with the extra bit of savings. So the savings is not just for the truck, it's actually for your home bills as well. Oh, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Sergeant Ringo, yeah. So let's talk about this, though. A friend of mine brought this point up. Have you guys heard of the Fairness Doctrine Act? Have you guys heard of that? The FCC Fairness Doctrine. And what that was is, if you were reporting the news and you did any kind of editorial, you had to list and mention that this is an editorial. And you had to allow the opposite side to be able to give their 2 cents. Like, kind of like the State of the Union address. What do? The president does his thing, and then whoever's not the president, the opposite party, gets to do their thing, right? But that's how news used to be. News used to be, here's what happened, here's how it went down. Oh, and then the last, minute or whatever is editorial. Just like in the newspaper, you had the editorial section. Now, what is considered news, what's considered journalism, what's considered reporting, is actually nothing but biased editorial fact mongering. And it absolutely has destroyed our country. About that study in the Netherlands, it may or may not be true, but we don't know if it's true, right? Unless you were actually there in the Netherlands dealing with it personally, that's the only way you'll know it's true, right? And I'm not picking on that particular incident or Sergeant Ringo, because Sergeant Ringo just brings up a great point, is that there's so many, masks work, masks don't work. There's rioting going on still, there's not rioting going on still. Have you guys read Fahrenheit 451? Have you guys read that book? We are living in Fahrenheit 451 right now. Absolutely every single thing, other than firefighters burning your books instead of saving your house, is absolutely happening right now. Everything. Okay? And that's one of the things, is that, the news will say, hey, we're in this war and we've won this battle. Meanwhile, the wife, one of the wives in the story, was like, no, my husband said so many were killed. I don't know why they're even reporting that, you know. And so it's I've talked about that before. That kind of press is literally destroying our information stream. It's literally destroying our country. You know, why do we have to mention somebody's skin color when in a situation? There's an agenda there, right? What sounds worse? White woman pulls gun on black teenager, right? When in reality, it was a woman who got attacked by, or was about to be attacked by, a mother and her teenage daughter, and she felt threatened, so therefore she pulled her firearm. There's a whole interview. Active Self-Protection Extra has an interview on that video, but that video was played just enough to make you think that this racist white person was attacking a black person, and that kind of media twisting, that's what passed us for journalism. I took journalism in high school. Now, I'm not a journalism expert, but I do know that a large percentage of the rules of journalism are completely annihilated. It's just beyond ludicrous. Let's see. Next Gen's in the house. Hello, Bearded Wonder. Not from Typical Media. Well, good deal. Charles Brandt says Truck World no. And that's why I said you have to separate yourself from the business. Do not include your home expenses in your cents per mile, but the minimum salary you want to make. Right. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. We're jumping back and forth. We're going to go with the flow, right? So what Spectre's talking about is when I do my P&L report, right? I look at how much did I profit per mile. Okay? And how much of that salary? So if I pay myself $600 a week, can I live off of $600 a week? So you have to look at yourself as a company driver at that point. Okay, so let's say you're a company driver, you're making 40 cents a mile, okay? And you decide you want to get a new car. Well, so you're only making 40 cents a mile, average 2,500 miles a week. And so you can't live beyond your means. And what a lot of people don't realize, because they see the big zeros in the bank account, that you have to find a salary that works for you, that still gives the business money, and you can pay your bills with it. So if you think you're all rich with all them zeros, and you go out and buy new stuff, and then the business suffers, you did it wrong, right? You did it wrong. So, and it's a common mistake. It's a common mistake that I've seen many, many people make in the last 6 years I've been doing this. So, pigtails in the house. I prefer to reference George Orwell, 1984, Thought Police. Adam Gallagher, we're living in a mixture. It's 1984 and Fahrenheit 451, all the numbers, right? It is Orwellian, yeah. Spectre, I remember what you said about the DA in your area. She's hard at work against those standing up for those rights. Yeah, I think, are you talking about the couple in St. Louis there, Ringo? We're living out the book Animal Farm. Yep, Ratman Roden is in the house, and he's late, as usual. Pigtail, I think I said hi to you. Charles Brandt, I really like that message you sent me during Coach of Speed. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we were able to help you out. So, Right Lane is in the house. I haven't talked to you all week, Right Lane. What's up with that? What's up with that? The St. Louis DA is crooked or is all get out. Yeah, but if that case, are we talking about the two people making them look like they're, is a t-shirt over your nose a mask? Any kind of face covering works. So yeah, you can easily just like pull your shirt up and you're good to go, right? I have one of these. It's one of the motorcycle masks that goes, and it's got the American flag on it, right? I've got one of those. And then I've got one that my sister made, and then I've got the disposable paper mask, because I believe it was somebody said that they were turned down with their homemade mask. They had to wear like an official paper mask or whatever. She took out a governor, is now going after that couple. Yet she has released over 200 people who were arrested for violence and rioting. Yeah, that's that. Those are the kind of things that are really got me kind of like fearful. If anything, I'm not really afraid of violence or afraid of. I'm more afraid of the consequences that I will face if I have to protect myself versus actually protecting myself. That I'm more afraid of the implications of that, because what happened to that St. Louis couple was absolutely absurd, and I hope it goes all the way to the Supreme Court and it costs St. Louis millions. I hope that happens, because there's video footage of these people breaking into their yard and saying, "I will kill you," right? Probably just ruined the monetization on my video by saying that. And they're getting punished for protecting themselves. Now, their muzzle control looked a little bit left to be desired, but I'm not judging because I'm still new at this. But for the most part, it kept those people at bay. It kept the rioters at bay. But we're living in an age where, hey, you got something nicer than me, so therefore you're the enemy, right? And that's always been kind of a mentality, but it seems like it's on steroids now, right? They actually did nothing wrong. They were on their property. Actually, you're right, Spectre, and that's the scary part. That is what really freaks me out, is they were protecting what was theirs. And Missouri's got a pretty, some states. Okay, so let's go over some CCW stuff, right? So what I learned in my CCW class is that there are some states that you have to go to the last possible place. So let's say you're in a living room, someone breaks in your house with a gun, the hallway, and they come after you. Well, you still got a room behind you, so you can't shoot them yet, right? So you go back in your bedroom, and they follow you in the bedroom. You still got your closet. You can't shoot them yet. It's only until you're in the closet that you have no other choice to stand your ground, and then boom, you can take them out. Now, that seems a little counterintuitive, right? Counterproductive, whatever you want to put it, right? Missouri, you're allowed to go, hey, you're in my house with a threatening weapon. You're gone. Boom. You're done, right? And so those people were not in the wrong. Muzzle control is not against the law. Kim Crawford, there is evidence she is a George Soros payroll since day one. Yes, Hodge twins, Troy, I agree with that. She'll never get a conviction. Well, here's the thing though. Just like the gal in Detroit, okay? Their guns have been taken, and they are now considered felons until the case is done, and so they can no longer own their firearms. And now they can't protect themselves. So the next group of rioters that want to go on their property can have free reign. How backwards is that? That's absolutely insane, right? And their lives have literally turned upside down. It's going to take a lot of money, a lot of courts. It's completely ruined their lives, and all they want to do is protect what was theirs. They didn't do anything wrong, and that is the scary part of where this country is hit. That's the scary part that makes me awake at night. Is not if I have to protect myself, but what happens if after I have to protect myself. Forbid if it's caught on video. Oh my gosh, everybody's getting 1984. We got Missouri is a protect your property state, right? So I'm going to buy a 10-acre farm with a long driveway and a pack of dogs sitting in the hounds, right? So, those of you late to this party, I talked about the shooting in Kansas City where a trucker was shot at on June 30th. It was on the 70-35 split there, I think, towards the middle of town, over there by Castle Road. Pigtail, you can correct me on that. and there was 4 45 caliber bullets. Now 45 caliber bullets are not, it's not just a 22, some kid plinking and having fun. 45s will do some damage, right? You know, any bullet will do damage, but those will especially do some damage. I'm a member of USCCA. It's a very good insurance that offers training also. I'm going to buy a van and live in the woods. You know what? We've got 5 acres of land. I think our fail safe is we're going to go down to one of these RV places. You know, sign the loan deed and then hit the road. You know, and live off our land. You know, that is correct location. Okay. Good deal. On a brighter note, your beard is looking very well groomed. Thank you. It's a little fray here, but you know, I appreciate that, right, man? I appreciate that. So, what is the DA in St. Louis County trying to charge them with? I don't know. You have to know your rights in the law and not be worried about overreaching the DA. Yes, it maybe get rough at times, but we don't stand up. We'll take our liberty and freedoms away. That's already happening, GNC. That's already happening. So, I just joined a month ago as regular content. Trucker's funny. I try to be serious. I try to do live feeds, and I try to do recorded stuff. I guess my video about dealing with brokers was actually bigrigceo shared it, and I appreciate that, James. And you know, I don't have all the answers. I'm not really a good teacher per se. I just kind of can tell you the mistakes I've made and what a couple of things I've figured out the hard way, usually. So, there's 3 main for gun owners: USCCA, Law Shield, and I forget what the third one is. But the ones that are defending the couple in Detroit. Which, by the way, that couple in Detroit, they were painted as racist and pulling a gun on a teenager. But the guy is a 100% disabled veteran, right? Where's the respect for the veterans? Or just drive away, you know. Well, the car stopped because one of the gals that was harassing them got behind the vehicle, hit the vehicle with her hand, and the car just locked up because of that automatic sensing crap. You know, like, you know, if your family dog or kids in the driveway and you don't want to back them over, which is a nice safety feature, but it locked up the car at that point in time and they couldn't go anywhere at that point. And I'm going to say at that point several more times. Larry Fisher, it's been a long time. What's going on? Kimber Micro 9 picking it up. Need more guns for the pocket. The Spectre, exactly. She has nothing. I'm telling you, that woman is crooked. Go to Eric Greeton's webpage and see all the truth coming out on her and their cronies. They have over 17 indictments against them. I hope that St. Louis loses their ass on that. I really do. I really do. Picking up my load in weed. Have a S&W MP40. Nice. You and I have talked about it, but no gun course teaches you what happens to the human body when it's shot. It's easy to say I'd shoot them, but the physiological effects, psychological effects on the shooter are difficult. Absolutely. You know, I think people want to paint a picture that all of us, you know, concealed carry guys are got itchy trigger fingers, right? The reality is there's only a few people that have ever had to pull the trigger and they don't like it, you know, and I think that most people will freeze. I don't know what I'll do in that situation. I run that scenario in my head and in the after effects, you know, and it was explained to me by a friend of mine that's really helping me through this gun journey. You're not a protector. Your job is not to protect the public. Your job as a concealed carry is to use the tool to get you the extent of it. And in that video with the Detroit couple, you can tell when she's hit that panic point because she's now drawn her weapon And she is literally freaking out. And it was taking everything she could to hold that gun steady. And she trained, right? And you could hear it in her voice. Her voice pitch went high, and she was now fearful of what she would have to do. And luckily, she didn't have to pull the trigger. For the home. Weed is a nice little town here in Cali. There's a small pilot there. Better be there early if you want to spot the park. I'd rather one in hand than holding my, yeah. If I'm pulling the trigger, the effects are null and void at that time. The decision has been made. You just have to live with it. Right. And I agree with you, Spectre, and you take that responsibility that, you know, that's huge responsibility. You know, it's just like if you have if you're a truck driver that's had a fatality accident, like if a vehicle has struck your truck and they died, and it wasn't your fault, it was non-preventable, that's still a psychological toll on you, right? And I know women that have had abortions. I know people that have. There was a gal that I knew back in the early band days who accidentally ran over a child because it ran out in front of the street, you know, where she was driving. Nothing she could do. She killed a kid, and she could not live with herself. She became a drug addict, and eventually she jumped off a building. Doubletree Hotel there in Springfield, the tallest building there on the Kearney and Glenstone, she jumped off that. There's a bus driver that we were told about that accidentally ran over a kid, because when you drive a school bus, you know, you have to count the kids. So like if 8 kids get off, you have to look in all your mirrors, make sure you count every single one before you accelerate forward. And there was, and we had a policy never to back up, ever to back up at a stop, right? And if you did, you had to have someone help you spot you. Something ran over a kid, one of his students, and he ended up dying of a heart attack later that year because he could not live with himself. So to take someone's life, you definitely have to, you know, think of the consequences. But in that moment at time, staying cool and calm is important, right? If you draw it, you better use it, right? Says Jeff. Most of the time, drawing it's enough to end the threat, right? You know, but then you can get fined for that. You can get in trouble for that. Oh, you brandished your weapon. You know, which is true. You know, you don't want to brandish your weapon. I saw Active Self Protection had a video about this guy who was in Malaysia or some crap like that, and the cops kept doing these warning shots up in the air, and this guy had a knife, and it wasn't phasing him whatsoever, and they ended up shooting him in the leg and taking him out. It took like an hour or something like that. But it's like, in America, that could be considered a felony. If you do a warning shot, that's considered a felony, right? Negligent discharge, that's a bad thing, right? So, you know, it's there's a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of responsibility in being a carry guy. If you carry, then carry with a round chamber, which I do. PTSD is real, absolutely. People usually get a whole new attitude when they know you're packing. Well, the point, I think people get the puffy chest syndrome. I think that like I'm not quick to get in any altercations, right? I'm not like, you know, someone described the gun as being a woolby, right? It makes you feel better, right? It makes you feel stronger. Oh, I can tackle anything. Oh, you want to attack me? I'm ready. You know, you can't be like that, right? It's human nature. Brandishing is a thin line. Nothing wrong with pulling it. In most situations, de-escalate the situation. Right. But once you pull it, what if that guy has got a gun, right? And then, you know, now you're going to be in a gunfight. And you know, where this couple came in, they came in separately, and they had a whole cache of guns. and started shooting in one part of the store. And what a lot of people didn't see was the wife was coming in with the shopping cart full of guns. Okay. And there was a concealed carry guy who wanted to be a hero. So he took out his gun and was hiding around the corner, and the wife saw him because he didn't analyze the situation. The wife saw him, took him out. Guy was killed before he could protect anybody. And so once you brandish it, truth's out there, so how are you going to handle that truth? And that's where a lot of people will fall short. Luckily, we don't have brandishing law in Oregon, but we sure have a ton of other problems. That's where training comes in, and knowing when to draw and when not to, when to shoot, when not to. Right. I believe I want to do as much training as I can. Carry trainer is a class that a friend of mine and I want to take. And I'm going to do it. That's my goal this year, is to take that class. I don't really buy a whole lot of things for myself, but I'm going to get this class. It's like a weekend long thing or a day long thing, and it really kind of cuts you through the paces, because I don't know anything. I know nothing. I know nothing. And I want to know as much as I can. You're only pull if your life is threatened and deadly force is imminent. A gun does not help against Pennywise. A Trucker's World, you have SW9. I've got one of those. I've also got... It's called Use of Force. You have the right to match any force used against you in protection of life and property. A good shoot, no shoot course is priceless. Yep. I want to train as much as I can. I've been watching, I haven't been watching as much trucking videos as I have the gun stuff, So, trying to get in the right mindset. So, and we're getting better. We did some target shooting in July 4th. We did that. We went out to the in-laws, and we made a makeshift. We didn't realize that we were going to do that. We made a makeshift target with a Pepsi box, right? We flattened it. My wife drew a nice little target, and we probably missed it as much as it. I think we shot 40 rounds of the 22, and I shot about probably 50 rounds of the 9mm on both my guns, because I bought a new gun, so I wanted to try it out. Threat, lethal weapon, lethal intent. Yep. If it's getting pulled, it needs to be to the point of no return and intent on using it. Hi, Snorelord, I'm here now, so start over, don't miss anything. And Les, what's up? And like, here's the perfect example, okay? Let's do some questions, right? So let me ask you guys this, okay? Spectre will know the answer to this. If your car is sitting in the driveway and you find somebody red-handed breaking into it, right? They're out there, smashing the window, and you come out with your weapon, you come out with your gun, and you go, hey, what are you doing with my car? Can you shoot them at that point? What's your answer with that? We're waiting for answers. Everybody's saying hey to Les. Guessing no. Now, you've brandished your weapon. More likely, if they have no intent on harming you, they will run away. Okay. Now, they've got the hammer that they use to smash the window. It depends. No in Texas. Okay, so there we go. It depends on your state. Ratman's right. Now, if that guy turns around and goes, what, you got a gun on me? And goes after you with that hammer, now they're a deadly threat. Right? Based on the info given, no, but you can brandish. Exactly. Right? So if they come towards you, and that happened to, so I was living with my sister for a little bit, and her boyfriend was at a job site, at a construction. The guy that he worked for got in an argument with the homeowner, right? And They got in such an argument, and they got a little bit of a fist fight. So after they stopped fighting, the homeowner went in and got his gun. He came back out, and my sister's boyfriend's boss had a 2x4 in his hand, and he went after that homeowner, and he challenged him. He goes, go ahead, shoot me, go ahead, shoot me, and then put the board up to him, shot him. Cops put him in the cop car, but did not arrest him. He was actually back at home within an hour, but he killed my sister's boyfriend's roommate or boss because it was a deadly threat, right? All situations are state dependent, right? That's absolutely right. So it's important. So I downloaded this app called CCW. I paid $2 for it, and this was on the recommendation of Carrie Trainer. I actually talked to Carrie Trainer on the phone for about a brief 5 minutes because I had a question about what can you do with your gun as you're rolling through Illinois as a truck driver. I don't know if I want to do that because I believe it's important for people to be mistaken for truth, and then there's a liability issue there. Does not need to be a lethal threat in Texas, only a threat of permanent harm. Right. Doesn't have to be equivalent force in Missouri, no. You bought it too, right, Lane? You dig that? And you know, and if you join the USCCA, which I haven't done that yet, which I'm trying to decide which law thing I want to join. Which, you know, 5 years ago, if you would have told me I would have been like doing that kind of stuff, I would have been like, whatever, you know. But now I'm like, we're in right world and people are shooting at truck drivers, right? So, or no, Mad Max world. I'm sorry, we've escalated. So, so you know, and what he said was, here's what I'll tell you, and then you could research this for yourself and read it yourself. Going through Illinois without a CCW, you have to break her down into a minimum of 3 pieces. They literally have the gun loaded, ready to go, but it's got to be concealed, and if you get out of the vehicle, you got to be locked up. Am I right on that, Spectre? If you don't have a CCW, then yes, it must be broken down. Weapon, empty mag, ammo, all stored in separate locations. And because and so how did I get those of you gun guys know Carrie Trainer? He's pretty good, got a pretty good following. The reason why I was telling a friend of mine about another friend that was worried about his gun in Illinois, and so he's like, you know what, we ought to email Carrie Trainer because he lives in Illinois. So if anybody knows gun laws, it's going to be me. So within 5 minutes, he emailed me, called me. So I called him, and he's like, okay. And I told him what we all thought that you had to break down the gun regardless, right? And he goes, no, your trucker friends are all wrong. I don't know why there's a misunderstanding, but here's what the Illinois State Patrol website says. But he goes, but yeah, if you have your CCW, now if you get out of the truck or get out of the vehicle, that's a different story. That's why I have the non-resident CCW for Illinois. Problem with carrying is too many willfully put themselves in situations that otherwise avoid. Yeah, right, Terry. I was talking about that puffy chest syndrome, right? The tool is designed to get you out of a situation, not to help you get in it, right? You know, kind of like the car breaking in situation. Now, you can sit there and call the cops. Okay, so here's a perfect example, right? So when I first moved in with my wife, we had a night where at 3 a.m. I woke up to the doorbell ringing. I thought, did I dream that or was that real? So I went and checked the peephole real quietly, and sure enough, there was like this scruffy, bearded looking dude. You know how them bearded guys are. And he was like wobbling. He's like banging on the door. You know, he's like, obviously this dude was not in sound mind, right? So I called the cops. And I woke up the wife and said, shh, you know, don't let this guy know here. And then he rang the doorbell again. We can. Okay, now mind you, I wasn't a gun. I think we had a baseball bat in the house. That was about it. And we lived in kind of a bad part of town, anyways. So, yay us for being smart, right? That's sarcasm, by the way, just in case you didn't get that. And now he starts messing. We had just replaced all the blinds in the house. Yes, I do know how to replace blinds because this is before we had kids and cats. So we did it once and we knew it was going to last a little bit. And, well, we had cats, but we didn't let them destroy it. But anyways, on the porch with all the blinds that we had left up there because we hadn't thrown them in the trash yet. And he starts banging on the window. He starts banging on the door. And I call the cops again. Hey, what gives? Well, sir, it's Saturday night. We got a high volume of calls, you know. So if he's actively trying to break in. Okay, so when he's in the house, that's when you're going to be here? Yeah, right. So 5 minutes goes by. I call him. Yep, he's trying to break in. Cops were there. Still took him about 7 minutes, right? And his breaking in was turning the doorknob. Now, in that situation, if that happened today, that might have gone down a lot differently, right? So, just saying. I was told about a hotshot driver that was traveling through Houston that was shot at on I-10 and driver hit twice in his truck. Hope it doesn't happen to Rat Man, but because he loves Houston so much. Yeah, you can't trust, John. You can't trust bearded guys. You just can't do it. So, but anyways, I pay a little bit more attention to the cars that are passing me. I pay a little bit more attention to the overpasses, but yet I still am not afraid. I'm aware, but we can't go through life being afraid of everything, you know. And anybody who's been in a war country or war-torn situation, or been in the inner city at one time or another, you've already got this natural instinct. And I think that's what's throwing a lot of people off, is that places that are generally peaceful now, not so much. Now, I encourage you to go look up old New York City documentaries about what life was like in New York City in the 70s and 80s. There's a Facebook page called Early 70s or Mid 70s, 1970s New York City. And it's amazing the transformation that the city has become. And in the 80s, it was a very, very, very dangerous place. And I remember going there with my dad to Hunts Point, you know, quite a few times. And my dad was on full alert. You know, my dad was a Marine, so, you know, he was on extra alert, right? And so while a lot of us like crazy to even live there, you know, there's still negative elements, and every city has negative elements, right? So, and in a light town to a major metropolitan city. I used to live an hour outside of New York City, and then of course I've lived in Phoenix. I've lived in predominantly black neighborhoods. I've lived in predominantly Mexican neighborhoods, and I've lived in areas like in Hawaii where, you know, Hawaiians don't like us white people at all. So that's not a racist statement, that's a fact. And you know, and for good reason. You know, we kind of took their island and made it into a, you know, tourist trap. So yeah, my dad was drafted in the Vietnam War, and then he stayed. He was a weather forecaster. He lost a lot of weight. My dad was a heavy guy in his 20s, and when he was drafted, he lost a lot of weight and went to Vietnam. Talked about it. There are pictures of him with a rifle. Don't know if he ever had to use it or not. But he was a weather forecaster for the military. So whenever there was some kind of mission that had to be done, it was his job to make sure, okay, this is what the forecast is, what the weather's going to do, and all that. And then he stayed in the military until we lived in Phoenix. So. Yes, live is not near as deadly as it was in our past. Even Chicago is nothing compared to the past. Right. So, anyways, guys, if you guys got any comments, questions, we're at our hour mark and a little bit over, and we can talk about anything you want. Or if you have gun questions, I probably won't be able to answer them. And if you got any other questions about the meaning of life, well, you know, I can do the best I can. We have combat weathermen in the Air Force. Oh, nice. Again, it goes to the news reporting we get today. I have to start over. Well, there's that red line. Just do that. Make that noise too, so you sound like cool. Just do that. If not, we will end this live feed. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys and gals. Nothing witty is in the house. Late. And but you guys be careful out there. I mean, there's be careful out there. That's all we can do. Don't panic. And you know, if you're a gun carrier, train as much as you can. You know, and if you don't have your CCW, I highly encourage you, even if you're a constitutional state. Missouri's a constitutional state, but I wanted the CCW so I can cross the state lines legally, depending on what state I'm in, and also I wanted the knowledge, I wanted the classroom time, I wanted the you know, going over the laws and where I can and cannot, what I can and cannot do. And you know, and the important part is learning what you should and shouldn't do, right? So you carry an AR-10? Wow. On the long guns, I know nothing, absolutely nothing. We looked at AR-15s at the gun show the other day, or you know, I'd say the other day on everything, a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't justify spending that kind of money for something I didn't even know how to use. So one step at a time, right? And you know, I didn't want to buy something just for the sake of buying it, right? So I wanted to make a wise decision. Mine takes a 7.63 or a 308. High caliber, big caliber AR. 7.62. AR is not complicated. Sergeant Ringo, you're talking to someone that didn't even know the difference in calibers a year ago. So, break that weapon down in your sleep, says Jeff. No. But I could probably start watching the videos on that stuff, right? I could probably start learning, just like I learned with the handgun stuff. But I also have a lot of friends that have handguns, so they've been kind of helping me with that. They are easy and are treated just like a long rifle. Good deal. Well, I definitely need to know more about that world, because my wife one time, she's like, now my wife works at home. You know, I'm sitting there doing my business stuff. I'm at the table, you know, and she comes out of the room. And she's like, "Hey, we need to buy an AR-15." I'm like, now mind you, I haven't bought one gun yet, right? We're gonna go from not one gun owner to like buying an AR-15. Now, I take that back. I do have a German Mauser from World War II. I do have one of those that my grandfather got back when he was in Germany. And then I have a single shot 22 that's good for hunting squirrels if you so desire to eat squirrel. And so it was a very, but she had read some reports that, you know, some places were trying to make them illegal, so it's best to get them now and then lose them in a boating accident, you know, and you'll be good to go. I'll bring the beer and ammo. Let's bless this up. Spectre, I am all about that. Yes. Well, time to take Snorelord shooting AR-15s. Yes, I would love that. See the smile on my face? See how I lit up? That you've just made me happy there, Spectre. Oh. If you can shoot a 22, then you can handle an AR-15. Awesome. That's what I've heard. I've heard they're not rough. I just need to be shown the basics, right? And the hunting classes don't really cover the AR-15s that we've taken. So, the hunting gun classes that we've taken. So, but Spectre, if you can point me in the direction of a few videos, just send me the links. I mean, if you know of any, I appreciate that. So, anyways, guys. Thanks for watching. I keep saying this and I never end the feed because I will not shut up. So here I am, shutting up. Have a good night. Be safe. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you hate me, hit the thumbs down twice. And subscribe, click like, and you know, and we'll try to mix it up. So I'll have you clearing rooms and shooting people in the face in a day. Awesome. All right, guys. Take it easy. Peace.